We joined EXP in 2019, and it was the best decision that we made that year. If you have questions on what it's like to be at this brokerage, reach out to us. Happy to chat. Let's get to the content. Welcome to The Solution, a real estate podcast where we get on here. My name's Phil Sexton.
My name's Jeff Seabach.
And we get on here once a week and we talk about what different ways we can really bring the consumer first in our industry.
Oh, and if this one isn't putting the consumer first, I don't know what it is.
This topic, actually, the wonderful name of it.
And I think we're going to be more focused on more exact, because at least recently, to start off the year, just because things were slower, we were throwing a lot of realtor tips, and now we're going to get into things about really how we can improve this industry and how we can put the consumer first. And we got to get the ideas out there. We got to get the understanding, because when I talk to agents, when we talk to elite agents, they were not aware.
They aren't aware of what's happening in the industry at a national level. Because a lot of elite agents, they're too busy with their head down, working on their business, looking for houses, looking for listings.
Right? We're selling houses. You got to focus on that. We got to focus on that. But sometimes I'm going to go with the late, great, awesome Louis Merlino.
Oh, Grandpa Louis,
right? Sorry to make you, tear up, but Grandpa Louis. Well,
I feel like I need Jack Daniels. We
need the peanuts guy up here.
Almonds?
The peanut sign. No,
what?
The peanut sign. What does it say?
I don't know what sign you're talking about.
He had a quote where if you look at, you can't see. What was it?
Look up.
Look up.
Yeah. The problem with the world is that when you're walking down the street and you got your head down to make sure you don't trip, you're staring at the gutter, you're staring at the cracks, you're staring where all the dirt of society is. And if you looked up, you get to see the clouds and the trees and the beautiful sky. And if everybody would just look up when they walked around more, that would solve all the world's problems. That was my Grandpa Louis' take as he then sipped his Jack Daniels.
Yes.
And he would tell you to think about it. Yes. You think about that.
Well, I mean, I likened that quote from the late, great Louis Merlino only because we can get just focused on looking on our current transactions, on our current problems.
Yes.
And not see what's ahead of us, right? Like similar, not
it's different. No, it's interesting. It's kind of like the Blockbuster, right? Where if you're not looking up to see that the net is coming, maybe you're not making decisions in your business. The Netflix, the real estate, the internet.
Oh, it's right? Funny because I was thinking the internet.
Agreed. The internet is what I meant. That's where Netflix came from, is knowing that the internet was what's coming, even though they started with mail.
Yeah. All right. Good deal. Well, let's get to it.
Look up, because that's what we're talking about today. Is here's what we see coming, and there's clues on what's coming. So today's topic, which if you're listening to the podcast, you saw the title already, but it is how the current lawsuits against NAR will impact how us realtors get paid in the future.
Yes. I mean, to me, we're not going to spend a lot of time going through all the details. I mean, for those that want to do some reading on the internet, the one was Merle versus NAR, which was put out, the lawsuit by the DOJ is what we're talking about. And
so the DOJ against NAR?
The DOJ against NAR.
The Department of Justice.
The Department of Justice, right? Like just
sues NAR.
Yeah. I mean, big stuff that,
right.
And it's more of what is a sign because the thing is now we're seeing more, 2 more lawsuits come out and 3 more lawsuits come out. And we're not going to get into talking about all of them, but it's clear that realtors are under attack for underperforming against their amount they're getting paid, just as a general sense. And that's where we're at with this, is that it is clear that if we were going to sum up what I see in the lawsuits is there's people who feel that we're not transparent.
No question. We heard that yesterday.
Phil and I interviewed a consumer out of Weston, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
West Virginia?
No. Weston?
No, from the East Coast.
Yes, from the East Coast.
An asset manager.
And he said, home selling it's so difficult. It's so not transparent. And to hear just a random consumer talk about, because we think it's pretty easy.
We're in it.
We handle it every day, right?
Yes.
But that maybe that is why we are in the low supply environment, that it's not transparent, that it's not easy to buy and sell. And then on top of it, what the lawsuits are talking about is that it's too expensive to move because they don't.
All right, I'm going to say that in a different way. Because I think what the lawsuit didn't say it's too expensive to move. I think the lawsuits seem to be wrapped around the concept of co-brokes and how co-brokes are disclosed, or how co-brokes are who pressures the co-broke, whether that co-broke has to exist or not.
Fair enough. But Leader came out and flat out said, you charge us too much for the service we received.
Got it.
So,
and that's why
I called it expensive. One of the lawsuits specifically said that was Leader versus filed in the same court. It came out after the first one, because that's what the hard part is it opens up this. And then there's, because you're talking about commissions paid for services received. They were talking about that realtors call it, I'm free to you.
Oh, you're not allowed to say that.
Right.
We don't say that.
Right. But leading to.
You mean a buyer's agent that says that a buyer's agent to try to get clients will say free, use the word free as their level of service.
That's going to be
even though that's not allowed.
Language, right? But then
and it already was.
But the new one alludes to that the client did not receive the value for what they paid in their mortgage for the commission that was paid to their representing agent.
So the buyer's agent didn't do a job that was good enough to receive whatever the co-broke was.
And I'm not talking details. So let's just say that let's say the buyer's agent got a check for $22,000.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling a number out of a hat.
Yeah.
And the buyer said, I didn't receive $22,000 worth of services for that agent.
Right.
I'm generalizing.
But that's what's under attack.
That's what's under attack. So our conversation for today is that we're trying to raise the bar.
Okay.
Right. Like we're actually trying to improve the quality of realtors, and to point out that maybe this is why the consumer views us as not as 58 in the ranking of who they trust or not, is because it's how to deliver value above, right? Because that's what we want to do, is we want to deliver value above what we get paid.
Right.
What do you think?
No, I see, in preparation for this podcast, just the conversations that you and I have, and the conversations that we're having with our team now is more geared around, don't be surprised if buyer broker agreements become more popular.
Well, I don't think, my opinion is, just in looking at all this is going on, that buyers, like sellers now, are going to have to fight for their commission. They're going to explain, because that's where they were alluding to, is they're like, you as a seller, you have to articulate your value to that seller in what's called a listing appointment. And the buyer was like, I didn't have it outlined. There was no appointment before to explain what I'm going to do.
Why the buyer had to add that $22,000 to their mortgage for the services that they received.
Yes. And it's super hard in today's environment because they don't want to give you the time.
Who?
The buyer. Because everything's now online, because we're now in a consumer driven, and they're like, because if you're like, hey, can we go to coffee to talk about, because that's when you would get a buyer broker signed, right? You'd sit them down separate from the houses to explain your
value proposition
dossier of your skill sets and what you're going to do. Right.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, because now the consumer just wants, because unfortunately, I heard it said yesterday, and it's so true, is 20 years ago, it was buyer, agent, house, and now house and agent flip-flopped, because now it's buyer, house, agent. And that role reversal is causing a lot of lawsuits out there because now, like, it was very clear before because you couldn't get into the houses.
Yeah.
I had to go through the agent.
Yeah.
And the agent actually had to work harder because they had to go to a book to find the house.
Not their phone.
Not even,
Yeah.
no, now the consumer has it. Right.
Yeah.
Like that. But I just thought that was a good.
So, like, if you're fast forwarding on where this is going, obviously this is all speculation. Who knows where this is going to end up?
Yes.
But in trying to see what's happening with the legal world, which really is what ends up writing the rules that we all get to follow.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, the laws.
Yes.
Yeah.
The legal world, when lawyers start to talk to other lawyers at different companies, that's when laws change.
Yes.
And to see what's happening and what's being brought up in these lawsuits is why now we're thinking, oh man, it'll be interesting to see how long the existing structure lasts before we see significant change.
Right, right. And
I mean, it's speculation, but one of your points that I like that I don't know that you've made yet today is it's interesting that the buyer's agent, regardless of experience or value or skill set,
gets a guaranteed commission amount no matter what they do. We just know that, I mean, I'm not coming out and saying I'm agreeing with anything, but it's kind of odd because I don't see that in any other business that no matter how, because you know my thing, this is not talking about this specifically, but
are we going to talk about the Suns again?
No,
is this about the Phoenix Suns? No. When you get paid more when you do better.
You get paid more when you do better.
Yeah.
But in real estate, no matter what you do, as long as you were there and you did something, you get paid as much as someone that did better. And I think that is where I want to focus our energy because it makes sense that it realigns itself with the rest of the world because the current structure is rewarding people for maybe not completing because how many hours does a typical real estate transaction take? Let's ask the field. Like, so how many hours do you spend with a client working on a file for them as a buyer's agent? Let's go with JB
as a buyer's agent.
JB Sinnott.
It all depends on how well qualified the buyer is and how good the market is. And I mean, okay. I've closed one in a day. I've closed one in a day, and others have taken me over 90 days. And showing houses every other weekend in order to get them the perfect.
Oh, wow. You're better than me. Because sometimes I've worked with people for 3 and 4 years and didn't sell them a house.
Well, we're a vacation destination, right? Like we work with the people that come here from Seattle for a month a year. So it takes 3 years.
But you're still doing work for them, right?
Yes.
Okay. So JB, just to help us frame it up, what do you think is the least amount of hours that you worked with a buyer from beginning to end?
I want to hear that one day story.
Yeah.
All right. I got a call from someone who said, I put your name down. I'm buying a new construction house. I put your name down as my agent. What do you need to do? And literally that was it.
Well, can I have that marketing campaign?
Yes.
That's the magic postcard.
Well, it was someone that I'd spoken to in the past, so they weren't completely unfamiliar, but.
So when we say 5 hours, then you've spoken to them in the past, how many times did you speak with them?
Oh, I mean, they were part of a drip campaign, but honestly, I talked to him probably, I don't know, 3 times, and yeah, 3 to 5 hours of work.
All right, we'll go with 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the little, and then what we're looking for then, so JB,
Carlos is raising his hand.
All right, Carlos, what about you?
An hour.
An hour.
Wow, on the low. That's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, they showed up to that open house that we talked about a few times ago, and they wanted the house, so it was like I just called and introduced myself, and that was it.
You didn't go to the inspection review?
No.
You didn't go to the appraisal?
No.
You didn't go to the signing?
Well, signing is what? Like the contract?
Yeah, the title company.
Oh, no. It's still an escrow, dude. No, it takes here at least 7 to 8 weeks to close here.
Oh, it hasn't closed yet.
Okay. But,
so you're not
how
done.
many hours?
So
but I mean, but I'm going to count those hours as well.
But the rest of my clients, the others. Ooh.
No, we're talking about the hours inside of the entire transaction.
Right.
So
I'm talking about total hours before and then after it's under contract and when it closes. And because we don't get paid,
I've had clients
in Texas. Do you get paid before it closes?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So how many?
Yeah, no,
how many
there's
hours?
some clients that I've worked with for, I mean, months and months and months and showed 20, 30 homes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, but how many hours? I'm still looking for the answer to this question, please. How many hours does it take you from
On
when you
average.
sign? Because the thing is, I like JB's example because with a new home,
You're not doing much.
yeah, like you upload it to SkySlope or whatever it is. But so in the real sale, the minimum is probably how many hours do you spend typically on a file, Carlos, from beginning to end once it goes under contract until it closes, roughly?
12 to 15 hours.
Okay, good. 12 to
Cool.
15 hours.
Nice.
All right, good deal. So then your 1 hour is really, in my opinion, we'll go at 16.
Fair.
Okay. All right. So, all right. But then on the high side, what's the amount of hours? What's the most, and we'll go to other people out there. What's the most amount of hours that you individually have spent with a client? I got one. Her name is Tracy Christ. She was my tenant. I showed her 170 properties over 2.5 years. So I don't know if that's the high water mark, but we were out a good, I don't know, what's a half an hour per showing, right? So that's probably, we're talking, let's go with 200 hours. Is that fair?
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
right, like because there's searches and like maybe 3, and like we'll go 250 hours.
Okay.
Does anyone think that they spent more than 250 hours with someone to?
Most people fire their clients before they get to 250 hours is my guess.
No, but I want to ask the crowd, who else is out there?
That's an awful lot. I got up to 100 with one seller.
Okay, 100.
With a seller, different side.
Or, I mean, with one, no, sorry, with one buyer.
Oh, buyer.
He was
Okay,
also-
who else?
He ended up not.
Jenna, Jessica, Nate Hodges.
Jameis.
Is it Regan or Reagan? Who's the guy?
It's Reagan.
All right, Reagan. Now, what's the most amount of hours you worked on with a buyer or a seller?
I feel like I've had, 50 plus hours.
50 plus, I think, is totally
Totally doable.
I'm not surprised by that answer. I mean, 250 is obviously
There's a lot.
Okay,
That's a
cool.
lot
Totally
of
doable.
hours.
Okay, right. Because so here's.
Thank you, Reagan.
Thank you, Reagan. Thank you so much. Okay, so now
You're taking your calculator out.
I'm taking my calculator out and I'm going to take 22,000
Okay.
and I'm going to divide it by the amount of hours.
50? Which one? What number are you going to use?
I'm going to first go 22,000 divided by 250, which
Okay.
is the most.
All right.
Divided by 250. That's $88 an hour I made.
Okay, $88 an hour
on that file. And it's funny because oddly enough, Tracy Chris bought a house around 670.
I don't want to talk about commission amounts.
But
we don't even need to talk about.
It's amazing.
We're just talking about earning $22,000.
$22,000. So I made $88 an hour.
Because nothing that we talked about with the audience today was about what the price of how it changes with the price of the house.
All right, it
it's
doesn't matter.
just talking about a
All
transaction.
right. Okay. So now if JB, who had the sorry, I didn't mean to let my phone ring. If JB's would have he got paid 1 hour total, JB?
No, he didn't have one.
Did you go to the
I mean,
inspection?
I did go to the inspection. I did go to the signing. I did. So yeah, 5, make it even 10 hours. But
Okay,
yeah,
we'll go with 10.
We'll go with 10.
All right, we'll go
Yeah.
with 10 with the minimum. 10 with the minimum.
but then put the same 22,000 and yeah, it works out to $2,200 an hour.
$2,200 an hour. Okay, good deal.
Were you really that much better on that for that client?
Totally.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Right, but that's what
isn't that interesting when you look at it that way? That's the crazy part about our industry.
right, because when you apply for a job, you usually make a salary, but the challenge about our job, I want to hear someone articulate why they should deserve that. Like, how do you explain that?
Why you're going back out to the field?
I've explained this.
You're going to the field?
I'm going to the field. I've explained this, and I feel like I came up with a legit way to justify it.
So is legit meaning so you can sleep at night, or legit meaning you get your clients to agree with you?
I got the client to be like, okay,
I just wondered what legit meant.
All right.
Well, hold on. You guys think about the answer to this.
And I'm going to get water while you
let's take a quick commercial break and we're going to be right back.
Okay.
The old way. You, the agent, puts a for sale sign in front of your listing and add it to the MLS. IDX and syndication take over and your listing hits the web. Interested buyers start calling in and they are connected to different agents instead of you, the agent that was hired to sell the house. This is bad for you and the seller. New way. You introduce RDigs to your sellers. RDigs installs a for sale sign in their front yard and markets to elite agents and buyers with the RDigs app and open houses. All inquiries that come in are shared with you and the seller. Your listings, your leads.
Okay, and welcome back to the Solution, a Real Estate Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're talking about how the NAR, the lawsuits against NAR are going to potentially change, could possibly change how we get paid in the future. And I'm here, Phil Sexton, with my co-host, Jeff Seebach, and I'm just doing my best to ramble for a good 30 seconds because I know that's about how long it takes for him to fill up his water bottle. And before we went to break, he posed the question to the audience. And Jeff, do you want to repeat the question that you posed to the audience?
Yes. How do you justify?
Did you guys see that? I nailed that, by the way. Did you see that? Okay, cool.
Well, because there, I mean, how do you justify making $2,200 an hour, right? Like, how many jobs out there are there to earn $2,200 an hour?
18.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
No, but just JB, how would you explain that to somebody if they said to you, if your client said to you, JB, you're going to work 10 hours. They don't ask you this, but it's a good exercise of what would you articulate how you deserve that much money?
Well, the way you normally do it is you say that when you take on a client, you don't always know. Sometimes I will be working with a client for months, 6 months or longer. Other times we'll find the perfect house and lightning will strike and it will all work out. My fee is fixed based on the transaction, not on the number of hours. And if we can make it work, that's great. And I'll throw some of my commission towards helping you out with an air conditioning unit or whatever. And that's how I will sort of justify it. But yeah, I use the law of averages. I don't know how long it will take to find the perfect house.
Good. Let's get somebody else. That was great. I loved it.
Yeah, nicely done.
Shimono, come on, baby. How do you justify your commission?
So while you're looking for your mute button, Michael, okay, here he is.
Attaboy. He's a sharp fella.
Sorry, I was on the phone with a lender trying to listen to both. So you guys are saying, so justifying.
It's cool. I got the broker texting me at the same time too.
So I was just pointing out that sometimes we can make up to $1,000, $2,000 an hour. So how do you justify that for the client that you make that much money for? Sometimes
you make that much money.
Yeah.
Period.
I'll be honest with you, fortunately, that's never came up. I've never had anybody question what I've done, so I've never had to have that argument. Again, my easiest transaction was a phone call on a Wednesday, showed 3 homes on a Wednesday, or phone call on a Monday, showed 3 homes on a Wednesday, and then $18,000 paycheck 3 weeks later. So that was my easiest transaction. And that was a broker. He was actually, used to be a mortgage broker and a realtor in California. And he never even questioned it. So
did you go to the inspection?
Yeah, I did everything. So I was at the inspection.
Did you meet the appraisal? Did you show up at the signing? Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I did all that actually. So I mean, it was not an easy one to negotiate actually too, because we did have a lot of scary things come up on the inspection. So it was a lot of work within it.
Okay, let me ask. Thank you for that. What? That's so funny. I mean, my question to you guys and to the audience, I think, is about what this topic is today, and that is, do we think, like in this conversation, do we think that there's a chance that how we get paid could change in the future?
I'm going to take the 100% certainty that yes, once it's transparent, how much because when the transparency changes, because right now MLS is not required to disclose how much money you make to the buyer
That's what actually got changed.
I know, but it's not out there yet. So this
Right,
is
it hasn't
why
rolled out. But
right,
that's
I'm just
because
saying that,
NAR did settle their lawsuit, from what I understand.
and they
with
said they're going to
DOJ.
make it more.
And they're going to make that change where the buyer
Well-
broker commission will be disclosed to the client.
Right, but I'm gonna pick on the word transparent because they right now through IDX they make it transparent who the listing agent is.
Oh, but yet the call to actions above the fine print of who the listing agents still win.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Got
I'm
it.
talking about when it, but even that,
Oh, do you think-
that alone, by making it, my buyer's agent is getting paid because I don't know, I didn't look at the lawsuit, but are they going to put a percentage or are they going to put the amount of number out there? Because when they see that number,
Percentage.
I think that that's going to have but is that?
Do you think that they're going to change?
Hey guys, I just want to point out our MLS has been showing buyer and seller agent commissions for over a year now, and they showed us percentages.
On the
Nice.
internet?
Yes.
On Zillow?
Yes.
On what page?
I mean, it's on the MLS, and so
How many
anybody who
scrolls?
uses-
Like,
No, on
give
the
me
MLS. Hold on. Time out. Our MLS shows it to us.
I'm talking about to the client.
I mean, on Zillow.
Right. So our MLS shows it,
Give
and
me
it
a
is
property address. I want to look it up. I want to see.
there's no way that your MLS. You mean on Zillow? I can see what the seller is paying the realtor.
Give me an address, JB.
We're not gonna check it right now, but if they do that, that's awesome. Good on them.
Here in the state of Texas, I don't know, but here in the state of Texas, in the contract, it shows how much the buyer's agent is getting.
Not ours. Does ours? No.
At the closing table.
I know he said in the
No,
contract.
on the contract,
Not
during
on the contract.
negotiations,
Not on the contract. Thank you,
shows-
Eileen.
like for me, I'm a buyer's agent, it shows 2.5% to the cooperating broker.
That's what the number is. Yes. Right.
To me though, it's also hard when you're at the contract stage to negotiate it. It's different when you're negotiating because you know that I like to present things before we get to the.
But wait, I don't want to get too far off of this topic before I mention, because we talked about the word transparency. Do you think, is there anybody out there that thinks that there's going to be a day when referral fees will be a part of the transparency? Jeff put his hand up.
How is it not? Because I mean, one of my new bugaboos is it's just a question I like to ask. Is IDX transparent? Truly, because Zillow says that they're the most consumer centric, but yet they don't disclose that they're getting a referral fee. And I just don't know, is that something that should
be
referral
included
fees,
in the word transparency or not?
right?
Right. Like,
Right.
how are we going to define the
'cause
word transparency?
Right. If we're exactly how truly, because if we're talking JB, does your system show that if you're paying an outside commission to somebody else, is that
Not until the settlement statement,
that's
right?
the settlement statement doesn't, because the broker handles it after.
it actually shows up in the settlement statement, but does not show up before the transaction is closed. So if you look at the settlement,
If you have to pay a referral fee, I send you a deal to Seattle.
Yep.
Hopefully soon, right, JB?
Thank you.
Hopefully soon.
Thank you again.
Right. Well, I mean, I see you every week. Makes sense.
We
that
used to send deals to Texas, but then it snowed. Sorry, Carlos.
They don't even have pipes that are protected, right? Like, we can't have people moving to Texas.
Too soon.
But JB,
Too
would
soon.
it be disclosed that you have to pay me if you chose to accept a commission referral agreement to me? Would that show up in your system that the client would see that at the closing table?
It would. I put it in the payment summary. I suppose what you could do is have your broker just pay it out of my commissions in a separate agreement, but I choose to put it in the transaction in the rest of the settlement.
I think that the point isn't how it's done now. It's what is disclosed to the buyer ahead of time and what is transparent to what they can negotiate, what they can't. Because on another level of it, if we're talking about changing some pretty big established policies, which is really what we're discussing.
Yes.
One of the pretty big established policies that we haven't mentioned on is how much can that buyer agent contribute that commission to his client?
Well, and the transparency of how much can the buyer agent actually negotiate? Because that's where they were at with it, is why can't they change that amount if they don't think let's say that their friend gets their license and they did all the shopping for, like, they went out and looked at open houses. They found a house, their friend wrote a contract.
And let's just say hypothetically that the co-broke being offered is 10%.
Or 50%.
Whatever it
Yes,
is, right?
big
Like,
number.
a big number. So they get 10%. Can I then take that 10% and decide I want to give 9% of it to my client?
Well, in most states you can't. Like, there's regulations, and I don't know that's
lending
changed.
regulations, right?
No, it's the regulations in which I read was regulations that our current agreements restrict the agent from rebating. I don't remember what exactly. I don't know if it's rebating or they can't rebate or they can't reduce it.
Yeah, I'd have to research it.
No, but the point of that is that there's even restrictions on. I don't know who it's protecting, and I don't know what it is. But I was more of the fact that the buyer can't, like the listing agreement, the buyer can't negotiate that number at all, unless they force a rebate or whatever. But they can't. There's just not, like, every time I go for a listing, I have to negotiate the number.
Right.
Every single time.
Yes.
And
I have to establish your value. Then it has to match up with your fee. Your fee. Your value and your fee has to go together.
Right.
On one side of the transaction and not necessarily on the other.
Exactly.
And that's what's coming under fire.
And my argument is, and not to pick on my beautiful studio audience, but you could see by their arguments that they haven't had that discussion many times
to justify how you get paid $2,200 an hour to a buyer.
Because
there's actually, let's ask who in the studio audience gets buyer broker agreements signed every time. And I'm gonna do a little filler while I'm watching for mute buttons to be unchecked, but I'm not seeing a lot of mute buttons being unchecked.
I personally don't. Because my broker.
Thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, my broker
that's
actually.
The impression I got from. Sorry, Carlos, real quick. That's the impression I got from everybody that didn't speak up right there. Is that you're not alone there? We don't either. But it's something that now we're talking about with our team as being something that is going to become let's practice now, because it's going to become
right. Because the thing is what happens
as we're looking up at the clouds in the sky and the beautiful direction that this industry is going. That's something
I'm just saying that
wouldn't be surprised if it
not in the current environment, but once we get to where selling houses is difficult again, that the sellers used to call us and ask us to justify what we're doing to get
on day 14, on day 34, on day 45, on day 66, on day 94. What are you doing today to sell my house?
Right. Why some people are like, I don't want to work with sellers. I just want to work with buyers because I don't have to do that.
All right. So then, Jeff, can't you make the same claim of your compensation argument on the sell side as well? Because if your house takes 9 minutes to sell, or if your house takes 9 months to sell, do you negotiate a different price for your services?
Actually, they don't.
I don't know that we're allowed to talk about it.
I don't know, but I don't think that they like that, because I thought that
I don't see that. I've never heard of that.
I think it's because we're not paid per hour.
Right.
We're
paid per transaction.
But it would make sense if you offered structure.
I don't know that
if you offered
we're all theory talking.
But if you offered a structure of, because it's funny, because my argument for the seller would be, if it takes longer for your house to sell, I think you should pay me more money. If it's less, then I don't know.
Like, in theory, it's just interesting how this system is set up. Well, and it's interesting now that we're getting no doubt traditions, but now that there's these lawsuits that are coming down that are playing in the space. I think that my conclusion, if you will, on this topic is I wouldn't be surprised if, while we're in this business, how many more years you got in this business?
I don't know, 4.
4? All right. So I got a few more than 4.
Okay.
That's because the team isn't called the Sexton team.
I'm kidding. I got another 15 to 20.
Exactly. I think that in 15 to 20 years, like, the amount of things that we're going to see change is going to be as impressive as the last 15 or 20 years.
But this one is going to be monumental. And I feel like we're on the precipice of it, because it's clear.
Adam, what's the chat?
Just some kind of back and forth. Michael Shimano said, on new builds, the buyers always see what the co-broke is with the registration.
Oh, got it. Nice.
True.
Yeah.
True.
All right, I got to wrap this up. Thank you for
Well,
another.
hold on. I want to at least articulate my
please,
reasoning, because
please.
I would say what I used to say to buyers when I worked with them a lot is I would say, you know, it's tough because you're only judging me on the hours I'm working on your deal, but it's the hours that I have worked my entire, like, because I used to preview a lot. Right. And I used to do a lot of work just to get better at my job. Right. Like the reason why I valued previewing is because it educated me on house values. It educated me on the what stuff was worth in the house. Like the word that when we talk to agents, they always say, I go see at least 100 houses a month.
They never say that.
90 houses a month.
No, they don't say that.
Do they say 80?
No.
Okay.
No.
Right. My point is,
I now ask, have you ever used your lockbox key?
Yeah, right. No, but this is the point is that, how can you be a house expert if you haven't been in,
if you're not in the inventory,
if you don't see the houses? But
yeah.
So I would,
because I live in one, Jeff.
No, but I would,
HGTV. That's how. HGTV.
Okay, but the point is that I would argue it's the hours that I am not working on that gave me the expertise to deliver you it in, if they say, well, you're only like, so I'm going to take, are you sure you're going to get the same commission? Yeah, but you're discounting how hard I've worked over the years to make myself great for you for that moment. And it's why when players get to the NBA that they get millions of dollars, because they put in the hours of dribbling when they were 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and they worked through the AAU cycle. And why I think, and why I'm pushing with Leopard, the League Elite of Performing Agents, like we came out with the National Association of Teams, I think you guys heard about that, is that there should be some kind of training program that we put agents through before you get your license, that it shouldn't just be hours in a classroom. That's just ridiculous. That it should be, you have to see 1,000 houses and then you can get a check. So at least that will help the arguments when they have to justify their commission rate of at least they've went through this process, other than just, I took a 90-hour test and now I get a check and I make $22,000 an hour.
I like where Leopard is going. Realestateleopard.com. Right? We actually have a website up now.
www.realestate, I think you guys know how to spell that, then Leopard, LEOPARD.com. We're looking for members out there. Just go there, sign up, but we're going to deliver value through
join the fight.
During the fight, baby. We're trying to raise the bar. We're trying to actually raise the bar.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Adios.